Scots comedian cancels Edinburgh Fringe show after terror charges. Imagine being a comedian ready to take the stage at one of the world's most prestigious festivals, only to have your show cancelled due to unforeseen circumstances. This is exactly what happened to Scots comedian Susan Riddell, who was forced to axe her Edinburgh Fringe show due to her bail conditions. But here's where it gets interesting. Riddell's bail conditions weren't just any ordinary conditions. They were a result of her alleged involvement in a pro-Palestine protest that took a dramatic turn. Along with two other women, Allegra Fitzherbert and Naomi Stubbs-Gorman, Riddell was arrested after a van was driven into a fence at Leonardo's arms factory in Edinburgh. The incident, which occurred on Crewe Road North, was allegedly a protest against Leonardo's creation of components for the F-35 fighter jet used by the Israeli Air Force. And this is the part most people miss. The charge of malicious mischief, aggravated by having a terrorist connection, has sparked controversy and raised questions about the limits of protest and free speech. At a private hearing via video link at Edinburgh Sheriff Court, the trio made no plea to the charge, and Riddell was also charged under the Road Traffic Act 1988, aggravated by having a terrorist connection. The Fringe show, How Do You Sleep at Night, at Monkey Barrel at the Tron, had been scheduled for a month-long run, but unfortunately it was not meant to be. Riddell took to Instagram to express her disappointment, stating that due to her bail conditions, she was barred from Edinburgh for the foreseeable future and would not be able to perform her show. But what's really going on here? Is this a case of protest gone wrong? Or is it a matter of censorship and suppression of free speech? Leonardo has previously stated that it does not supply equipment directly to Israel and that its main customer is the UK Armed Forces. However, this has not stopped the pro-Palestine protesters from targeting the company. On Sunday, Police Scotland said its counter-terrorism unit is leading the investigation into the incident and that inquiries are ongoing. The force has also issued an appeal for information to trace the movements of two vehicles, a blue Ford Transit van and a white Honda CRZ. But here's the question. Should protesters be charged with terrorist connections for taking a stand against what they believe is an injustice? Or is this a necessary measure to prevent harm and ensure public safety? We want to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments below. As the investigation continues, one thing is certain. This incident has sparked a heated debate about the limits of protest and the role of activism in today's society. So, what do you think? Should protesters be allowed to take drastic measures to make their point, or should they be held accountable for their actions? Let's keep the conversation going. UK police use terror laws against Palestine action protests. In a shocking turn of events, law enforcement is exploiting terrorism laws to suppress direct action following the prohibition of Palestine action. This bold move has sparked outrage and raised concerns about the misuse of legislation intended to combat terrorism. But here's where it gets controversial. Critics argue that this exploitation of terrorism laws is a blatant attempt to stifle legitimate political activism and peaceful protest. By labeling activists as terrorists, authorities can effectively silence dissenting voices and crack down on those fighting for justice. And this is the part most people miss. The consequences of such actions extend far beyond the immediate impact on Palestine action. It sets a dangerous precedent, allowing governments to use terrorism legislation to target any form of direct action or civil disobedience they deem inconvenient or threatening. This raises the question, where do we draw the line between protecting national security and preserving our fundamental rights to freedom of speech and assembly? Is it justifiable to use terrorism laws to suppress political activism, even if it challenges the status quo? We want to hear your thoughts on this contentious issue. Do you believe that exploiting terrorism legislation against direct action is a necessary measure? Or does it pose a significant threat to our democratic values? Share your opinions in the comments below and join the debate. Edinburgh Defence Factory attack. Women in court after van incident. Terrorism connection. A shocking act of protest when activism meets defence manufacturing. In a dramatic turn of events that highlights the escalating tensions surrounding international defense contracts, 3 women have found themselves at the center of a high-stakes legal drama after allegedly driving a van into the perimeter fence of a defense facility in Edinburgh. Buckle up, because this story is about to get intense. On a fateful day in July, the tranquil grounds of Leonardo UK's facility on Crewe Road North became the stage for a bold act of protest that would soon capture national attention. 3 women, Allegra Fitzherbert, 34 from London, Susan Riddell, 42 from Glasgow, and Naomi Stubbs-Gorman, 31, also from Glasgow, were arrested and charged with what authorities are calling malicious mischief with a controversial twist. The charges are aggravated by alleged terrorist connections, but here's where it gets controversial. The incident wasn't just a random act of vandalism. Dozens of pro-Palestine protesters gathered outside the Edinburgh Sheriff Court, claiming that Leonardo's laser targeting systems are potentially linked to Israel's F-35 fighter jets. And this is the part most people miss. While Leonardo firmly denies directly supplying equipment to Israel, stating the UK armed forces as their primary customer, the protesters see a deeper, more complex narrative. During their court appearance via video link, the women made no plea to the charges. The legal proceedings took an interesting turn, with Fitzherbert and Riddell being granted bail, while Stubbs-Gorman's bail application was continued, with her expected to return to court the following day. The plot thickens as Police Scotland's counter-terrorism unit leads an intensive investigation. They're particularly interested in 2 vehicles, a blue Ford Transit van spotted around Gargi Road on July 14th and 15th, and a white Honda CRZ discovered in a nearby car park after the incident. What drives ordinary citizens to such extraordinary actions? This case raises profound questions about protest, corporate responsibility, and the fine line between activism and potential legal transgression. The alleged act speaks to broader global tensions, where individuals feel compelled to take direct action against what they perceive as systemic injustices. Police are actively seeking information from anyone who might have witnessed the vehicles or the incident. Every detail could be crucial in unraveling the full story behind this provocative protest. As the legal proceedings unfold, one thing becomes clear. This is more than just a simple case of property damage. It's a complex narrative of political activism, international defense contracts, and the passionate pursuit of what protesters believe to be justice. What are your thoughts? Does this represent a legitimate form of protest, or has a line been crossed? We invite you to share your perspectives and join the conversation.